Hey YouTube, accomplished the impossible here today, and we have server room part 6. This is the most recent updated version of this room. There has been a ton of work done. It doesn't look like much, but good lord. Alright. Guess the first thing I'll point out is the carpet's gone. So, officially got the carpet removed, and that was definitely needed to do that. And we will be putting in electrostatic dissipation flooring. It's like a 3mm vinyl flooring almost that locks together and then grounds out to a copper strip that goes to an outlet or a point of grounding. So essentially that would be that ground bar over there. The racks are different as well. Some stuff has changed. And the original rack here on the left was powered by a different battery backup UPS, and that has been changed. So the rack here on the right for the most part is the same. There are some differences. The difference being this UPS here was originally in this rack, and the bigger UPS, my APC 2200, which is down here, was originally in this rack, and it was at the bottom. So I have moved that to this. That UPS is taking on my B side of all the power supplies on the servers, and my A side is, that's funny, just an old LED strip. My A side is battery backed up, so I have a whole house UPS system. So these aren't necessarily something I need to keep on it, but they've been here the longest and they're just an extra line of redundancy. So even me saying my B side has a UPS, the A side is also UPS, but it's just more redundant power methods. On the top of my last video, I had a Cisco switch up here. I have removed the Cisco switch to cut down on power, and we now have everything on 10 gig networks, and all of my DAC cables, or my iDRAC controller cables, run to my Unify switch on the right side, which is not PoE. This left side is PoE, so that's going to cameras and access points and other things. And everything up here for the most part's changed. This is one network of my home. This is a separate network of the home. This is on a different VLAN. So I have different peripherals and different items being controlled by each one. This is my provider's ONT. This is a 2.4 gig router for some specialized items here at the home. And this is a little, I call it a hockey puck for controlling some new lights we'll go over in a second. So overall, it hasn't changed a whole lot. This is a storage tray, and it's just got a little bit of fiber in there, not a whole lot. I have gutted a lot of unnecessary things that I didn't need running or online anymore, so it is much more condensed down and much more space friendly. And everything here on the bottom is just air baffles. There's really nothing going on down there. And like I said, this is all the same from the server part 5 video. All the servers are the same. I've actually, some of the servers, the OS has changed. This is now running TrueNAS Scale, and these guys are still on Proxmox, but I'm not using them or labbing them out for anything as of right now, so they're not online. So that's for these servers. The next thing you will notice is if we go up here to the top, I actually have some dedicated outlets for server racks. This is very similar to what you would see in a data center for the racks. Some data centers have these L5-30R twist lock 30 amp receptacles, and then some data centers have them actually under the floorboards with the raised flooring. I've done several different configurations like that, so it just depends on what data center you're at. But anyway, so we have two 30s. That's a 30 amp. That's a 30 amp. That is a 20 amp. All three of these have their own breaker on the sub panel servicing the server room. So this right here goes to a APC power strip which is on the back of the rack located on the right side, and it's just a vertical. It's also network controlled. I think it's got 48 outlets on it. The one on this 30 amp here on the right runs the UPS, the APC 2200, and that right there is going to the rack 103's power supply here. And power supplies were switched because this is more suited for servers, and the only thing that pulls power off this is all of these devices here, so it's not a whole lot of usage, just the UDM Pro switch, PoE switch, and then another switch here, my ONT, which is, if anything can't fail, it's this one, because that's how I talk to the outside world, to my ISP. Everything else is just basic. So that's a good little UPS. I got that used on Marketplace and put your batteries in it. It's good as new, and it's also network managed. So that's the deal up there. If we go to the Panduit, I kind of did my best to reorganize some of the fiber and Ethernet cables running down. And I need to order a waterfall, because these are actually supposed to have a waterfall 4-inch connectors on them, and everything Panduit wise on some of my warehouses that I order them from are just completely backlogged. That particular piece is backlogged for about a month, so I haven't even tried to buy it yet, and I think it runs like $120, so they are very expensive. But we'll get one later. And I don't know if we mentioned it on the last video, but the server room is actually outfitted with data center rated grounding now. So, data center telecom room. This is something similar to what you would see as far as grounding goes. Usually you have your main ground bar, and we have this guy goes to the ground rod outside. This one goes to our room halo or half halo, and then this one's just the pipe ground for the conduit. So if we follow this out, this goes up, over, and it kind of just rises below the Panduit. The question is, why do you do that instead of grounding every rack individually? Well, you can ground every rack individually. The only issue with that is you're going to run into using more copper for what you need. So in a cost-effective world, this is the easiest way to do it, and it's still approved by a lot of vendors out there. I think this might even be in the NEC, I'm not sure. The only thing that I kind of cheated on was the mechanical lugs. These are mechanical bolts on clamps, and they are bonding the 2 gauge to the 6 gauge ground wire, and then the ground wire just grounds out the rack. I did that because I do not have the crimp tool for the H-taps, or the H-clamps, and they're very expensive, and those clamps are massive. So this was the solution. It works, it bonds, I have good resistance measurements on it. I'm happy with that. It doesn't look as good as the H-tap, but it's fine. And I have that on that rack over there as well. So in a perfect world, this cable is actually supposed to run the perimeter of the room, and if we were to ground every piece of equipment out, we would essentially run every ground stinger up to that wire, and I mean, we would ground out the vent, we would ground out every bit of conduit we could, or under the floor tiles. And with running wiring above the floor tiles, you don't run the risk of smoke getting thrown into your HVAC system or blown out into your servers. Heaven forbid that happens. It's just another line of defense. So grounding, after grounding, I actually went to Best Buy and I got a little nano leaf strip light, and these ones you can make shapes with, and they go to music and all sorts of weird stuff, but right now it's just ambient lighting, so it does its job and it works very well. It just looks kind of cool. If I turn the lights off, you'll get a better view of it. This is what it looks like with the lights off. So it looks really cool. I thought it looked futuristic. I like the way it looked, so why not? And then we have this little guy over here. This is a Relay Rack 1.01. This is relatively the same as it's always been. There's just a lot of different lab stuff on it. Printers, repeaters still down there, which I might actually take that repeater out down the road. There's really no reason for it anymore. But these also have under LED lighting. It's my 12-volt fuse panel. This is some microwave equipment I haven't touched in a while. But yeah, this is pretty much everything. So This also has a power strip on the side of it for me to lab out stuff. It's pretty easy access. And then I got 2 more receptacles installed here and here for peripheral devices, fixing computers, fans, whatnot, if I want them outlets. And yeah, so these are, every outlet in this room has its own separate breaker, which is 20 amps. So 20 amp, 20 amp, 20 amp, and then that one up there in the back was a 20 amp as well. The other 2 were the 30s. So that's the deal with that. I love that configuration. This is actual proper, for the most part, this is what you will see in a shelter for a cell side comm shelters. They have this configuration. And just a quick little tip of what you would normally see here. I've had a lot of questions about this lately from a couple of engineers or just people in general. But in some buildings, you will see outlets are installed upside down. So the question is, why are they installed upside down? Does this signify something important? Does this mean anything? Most of the time, it doesn't mean anything. The only thing that it actually does when you flip an outlet upside down is if we take this 120 volt standard outlet and we plug it in upside down and we leave it exposed, heaven forbid somebody comes along, doesn't push it in all the way and leaves it exposed. If somebody up here was working with a screwdriver, wrench, something, and it is out enough and that wrench falls and hits this right here, that's the ground, so it's actually not going to cause an issue. It's going to hit your ground first, it's going to bounce off, and your 2 110 volt prongs will be protected and they're not going to get shorted. Whereas if we had it installed like this and something falls on it, like a penny or a quarter, as some kids do on Facebook, they fall in right here, then that will actually cause a short, throw the breaker. Best case scenario, it throws the breaker. Worst case scenario, it doesn't, and you'll have a electrical fire or whatnot. The probability of that actually happening is so minimal, which is why you see outlets installed right side up in homes and offices. But the correct way you would normally do this at a data center or some sort of comm shelter is upside down outlets, because, like I said, your ground is protecting the 2 leads on both sides. So that's the reason. So that's a little tech tip. It's just something that, it's one of those oddballs in the industry. Nobody really knows why they do that or what the reasons are. There might be more reasons to it. If there's an electrician watching this and they have some input, comment below. I'd love to know more on that. And then we're back to the ground bar. Like I said, we already went over that. That's just grounding outside to an 8-foot ground rod in the ground, and then the 2 gauge ground wire goes over. In my last video, I had a lot of items here. Most of them I have actually eliminated, as you can see. And they were, my ONT was up here, and I have my fiber down here coming in. Now I just have my outside fiber, comes up over to my termination box, runs into my APC fiber that I got, and then runs over and up and into that ONT in rack 1.03. And that's providing my 2 VLANs for all of my network items. So that's been really nice to have that, because I don't have to have any additional battery backups over here. As you can see, this battery backup is gone. Most of everything out here has been eliminated. There's really no electrical items here. The only electrical item is my UniFi camera power supply, which runs up here, goes to my UniFi camera, and then my Honeywell AC transformer that powers my Honeywell alarm panel up here. So, and in the last video, I had some phones here. Those have been long gone. So, took the phones down, repainted the walls. Everything's been repainted, so we don't have some holes in the wall anymore from screws or whatnot. So it looks way better than it does. And this is the Honeywell system. This is a very run-of-the-mill system. There's nothing special with it. This is something you see on a residential side and commercial, depending on what you're doing commercially. So this is actually the control board. This is a Vista 20p panel. I think there's an actual name for the board here, but I have my Vista 20p panel here. And then I have a, they call it a EW Link. I think it's InvisiLink module, which allows you to monitor your alarm without any cost. There's no cost affiliated with anything, so that's kind of nice. And then we also have the Ethernets coming in from my alarms ports outside. We'll go over that later. And backup battery for it, pretty standard. So normally, the way you're supposed to see these guys is your lines that run to the alarm panel are not supposed to be directly coming in from your door alarms. And we'll go over that here real quick to show you what I mean. So, down the stream of that, we have the annunciator or the siren, which is pretty darn loud. We have this guy right here, which is actually an alarm panel, and this is what they are supposed to be used for. So I have some extra cabling in there. I haven't really trimmed up, but that's fine. So the way you're actually supposed to wire these things commercially for telecom, if you are wiring an alarm panel, you're not supposed to run your alarms directly to the alarm panel. You're supposed to run your alarms to a alarm, usually a 110 block, 66 block, something like that. So these on this side is all my wires feeding the alarm panel, going up, over, and into the Vista 20P panel. And the wires here are actually my alarms throughout the house. So these are front door, generator, windows, doors, all that thing. All that kind of thing these are all those running here, motion sensors. And then you punch down and terminate on both sides. And that is how technically that's the correct way to do it. It is industry standard. That's the way we've always done it. So I reflected that here. These are some old alarm panels, but they're really good. The difference between these and 66 blocks is this entire top item is one solid metal. So this is all connected, which is why you would want that for alarm systems. You wouldn't want that for a phone system. So that's what we use for that. And they're all nicely alarmed. And their excess has been left on top in case we ever have a future for that, for those excess items. I don't think we will, but if it's there, we have it and we're good. Sometimes these are a little pain to put on. So that's the deal with that. And like I said, we just got more Panduit over here. Got a little waterfall or drop down for this rack. And as far as everything else goes, that's the bottom end here of all the racks and layouts. I love having carpet out, and it's just concrete right now. I like the way it feels. It's very industrial, much more brighter too. The other thing too, speaking of brighter, is I took out my LED strips because they were looking pretty raggedy, and we actually put in some RGB 4-inch lights that are controlled by that little hockey puck. And these things are really neat. They do all different colors. I can change the room to whatever color I want, and I can turn the brightness down. They are super, super cool. So I will show you that here. I go to my app, and we're gonna click on server room. So this is the app here. And if I go down, the brightness goes down. If I go up, brightness goes up. And let's change them to blue, which is there, and they're on blue now. And it's a lot more brighter. It's a lot brighter in person than it is on the camera. Blue is a pretty dark color, so it's not super bright on the camera, but it's really cool. Let's go red. So here's like a reddish color. Oh, that's not really a red. That's pretty red. So that's our red. Let's do green. Got some greens going on. So awesome lights. They look way better than the RGBs, LED strips. And they are also on my fan light switch. So this turns on the light switch for the fan and the ceiling lights. So that's kind of cool. Let me get back to white. Back on white. Turn the fan on. And that is everything there. That's my desk. That hasn't really changed a whole lot. The only thing that's changed on the desk is I actually have a 10 gig fiber running back there. Let's see if we can see it. Yep. This is my 10 gig SFP LC. Single mode fiber running from my computer to the 10 gig rack. And that's that D2020 Redstone rack switch. So everything in here is pretty much 10 gig unless it's a management item. And that's pretty much it. Everything is as it was. The blue lights up here are actually strobes for the alarm system, so if there's an alarm ever triggered, they will start going off. One thing I was thinking about doing for these series of videos is a how to power a home server room. So in that video, it'll be much more in depth on the power systems rather than the actual server room itself. And I go over kind of what I'm doing in my theory of operation and how it operates and fail-safes, redundancies. I have a system in the house that a lot of people have never heard about. Something that big data centers use, and it's been flawlessly performing through all these years. So with that being said, I guess we'll end the video. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Sorry it took so long. It's going to be a long time on the next server room video too, because I will be out of the state for a couple months. But I hope you all enjoyed. So if you guys are enjoying the videos, don't forget to join the Discord channel. We got a lot of great guys in there. We've had a lot of great conversations, a lot of great people being helped on what they want to do with their systems and build stuff. So it's been really good. It's been really good input from everybody. Comments are looking great, and that's all I could ever ask. So with that being said, ATI out.